Okay, hi everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to everyone around the world. Thanks for joining my session. Today I'm going to present to you about my experiences on web performance, specifically to do with offloading image resizing and any image optimization to a CDN in CloudFlare and Akamai. Just very quickly, I just want to make sure that everyone comes together at this difficult time at the moment, by helping out those in the trenches against COVID-19. All the doctors, nurses, EMTs, and paramedics around the world are working really hard, and also, to those who are less fortunate than us, if we can do our part against this truly horrific disease, which affects us all, and we can understand things are difficult during this time. So any little thing can help, so please donate to a fantastic cause. There's also a breakout room, so head over there. I will be making myself available after my session to chat around my session if required, and also be available to some casual chit chats as well. So who am I? I'm from Melbourne, Australia. I'm a solution architect on Sitecore and Akamai. I'm also a Sitecore Technology MVP for the year 2020. I've worked with Sitecore for 9 years and Akamai for approximately 4 years. So a quote that everyone has everyone that is very familiar with: "A picture speaks 1,000 words." As we all know, a photo or a picture can communicate to the audience in so many ways. A picture can convey an emotional context with some background settings, and a website often has a lot of images to help convey the message, things like hero banners, photo galleries. However, from a web performance perspective, there are actually a lot of penalties on using images. So in a modern web page, there's approximately 63% of the page weight are images. In an average, there are around 60 images, give or take, in a specific web page. If you think about product listing pages or product detail pages, you can definitely see that there's actually average is around 60 images or so. Shoppers actually rely on good image to help them make purchasing decision, and also in this day and age, there's a responsive web design catering for all different types of devices. A mobile first design approach is a very popular design approach that web designers and to approach, because a lot of people are now jumping on their phone, making all the purchasing decision, and making all the acquiring all the knowledge of a specific information, or using the mobile phone. A very important factor for search engine ranking is that site speed is definitely one important ranking indicator. A lot of studies have been done to death that site speed also affects conversion. So every single millisecond of delay or every single second of delay affects conversion, and usually affects it negatively. So these are, there are multiple ways to optimize images. Provide various image dimensions, crops, and qualities depending on the device and the network connection. So designers usually go through images and start resizing them, cropping it correctly with the correct focus, using the naked eye to judge the lowest image quality to use without sacrificing quality. Modern web browsers all supports next-gen image formats. Generally, the formats that are produced are smaller with image quality. I just want to quickly point out that none of the modern browsers really support JPEG XR anymore, but apparently there are still some use cases for JPEG XR as well. If the metadata on an image is not important, do not present it, get rid of it, strip it all out, and you will reduce the image size without reduce the image quality. Progressive JPEG allows users to make out what the image looks up much quicker without having to wait for the image to finish loading. So if we have a look at the top right-hand corner, you see that the baseline JPEG loads from the top to bottom, but a progressive JPEG loads from low quality to high quality, and it gives a perceptual, to the users that something is actually happening. Oh, I actually understand what this image is. I can actually move on, or I can actually understand that communication a lot quicker. And also, the one thing I want to point out is that progressive JPEGs actually produces a slightly larger file size than the baseline JPEGs as well. So something that I would like to point out. A lot of common issues when optimizing images. So imagine a designer having to sift through, resize, crop the images individually, produce different size variations. The job can get tired and boring extremely quickly. It's a very tedious task. The amount of variations that have been resized will take up storage spaces. There's another thing to do with images that have got a very heavy red, orange, or pink colors. They are traditionally extremely difficult to optimize. More often than not, I have heard clients complaining about images that were optimized by Sitecore, that the brand colors have lost its shine and no longer matches the direct brand colors, and designers in the marketing department love complaining about how the images have now gone off-brand. And then also with image resizing, automation is done automatically, just like how we do in Sitecore. It takes up a lot of precious CPU threads. I'm not sure whether you have seen it before when you're launching a new website and then immediately, or a new page, immediately when you open Task Manager on a live site, you will see a lot of image processing spawn in the background job and to optimize all the images. So that takes up a lot of precious CPU resources as well. So just quickly run through Sitecore's history with images, what Sitecore provides out of the box, and some of the other really popular tools within the Sitecore community that a lot of Sitecore instances are running with already. So out of the box, a lot of the image resizing career storing parameters are available since 6.x. The first Sitecore version I worked on was 6.4, and that was already available. Media request protection hash was introduced in 7.5. It's to safeguard against denial of service attack with image resize bomb requests. So people would see an image and you could type width equals to 1, height equals to 1, and then thousands and thousands of permutations, combinations with the correlation parameters, and try to bomb and try to bring down your website. So this hash will provide that protection on it. One caveat and one downside to the hash is that out of the box settings, if the hash does not match the correlation parameters that have been generated, it will serve the entire full-size image out. A lot of images are 10 meg, 15 meg, original high res. So this can still be a massive problem, even with the media production turned on. Some of the settings that are worth taking a look is one of the resizing maximum height, resizing maximum width. Basically, if you put in a value in there, the maximum size of the height and width is whatever has been specified in that setting and cannot go larger than that. A good one to look at is the resizing quality, which is the image compression that is applicable. Another one is the media request extension. By default, it shows .ashx. It doesn't matter what file you're on, whether it's PDF or JPEG or PNG or SVG, it automatically uses .ashx. So, leave that setting as empty. From Sitecore 8.2 update 5 and onwards, there is a setting which is always append revision, and appends the revision ID of the Sitecore item as a correlation parameter. Resizing compositing mode specifies how the source colors are combined with the background colors for resizing images. Pixel offset mode specifies how pixels are offset when resizing images. And media.interpolation mode specifies how the image, what compression algorithm to use during the resizing of the images. I would highly recommend using high quality bicubic if you are using any CDN image optimizations. Other really famous third-party Sitecore modules, Dianoga by Cam Figgy. Just want to do a massive shout out to Sitecore Technology MVP Mark Gibbons from Brisbane, Australia, who is now the active maintainer. He's just pushed out some great releases in there. Another Sitecore image compression and next-gen conversion tool that was released last week by another technology MVP in Australia, Thomas Hayek. Massive shout out, some great stuff there. There is a Sitecore media library enhancements that pre-process images during the upload to the media library. So these are some of the pre-processing techniques that have been out there in the community. Check this out. So now let's quickly go through how we are going to use CDN to optimize the images. And first thing, I just want to go through the reasons why we want to use it. First, we want to make sure that by offloading the work into the CDN, hopefully by implementing that, there will be minimal code changes required from a Sitecore end, which means doesn't matter what Sitecore version you're using, whether it's XSA, JSS, or traditional MVC, it should just work with implementing the CDN on top without having to do any work on Sitecore at all. We want to offload the actual resizing and optimization workload to the CDN rather than on the origin to free up your CPU resources and memory resources to process real tasks like serving out content. Caching and offloading resizing automation also forms a security strategy. So what I was talking about before with the request media production hash, you no longer need to do it. You can offload that workload over to the CDN instead. So it forms like a microservice type of architectural type pattern where there's this small piece of workload that you are now offloading to the CDN rather than being done in a Sitecore or IIS or .NET. So I'll quickly give you an overview of a request flow. This diagram is plotted by Akamai, but you will find that most of the image optimization services that are done on the CDN side has a very similar approach. So you can see that there's a request flow of a user requesting for cropped or optimized image in this path in here, which forms, and then there's also another path from the image manager server back to your web application. So this path in here is called a pristine image path. And one thing that is really important is that we want all the images that are in this pristine image path to be served as the highest resolution as possible, unaltered, not resized, and no filter applied at all. So we want to get all of those done. We want to serve the original high-res image in here. If it is 10 meg, if it is 15 meg, so be it. That's how it should be done. And then in here, on the user part in here, this is where all the crops, all the different transformations, the different optimizations are performed. And then you can have multiple different crops of a particular banner image, and then all the different cache keys are all served in here, all the different variations are served in here, and all the transformations are done in the super cache layer as well as the image manager server layer. So it does not touch your content deliveries or cycle at all. So imagine there's many crops going around. You just now offload all of that workload to the CDN instead. So I'll quickly go through what CloudFlare's offering has with image optimization. They do have a quite good offering. Mirage, which is available for the Pro, Business, and Enterprise plan. So it analyzes the visitor's connection and device type to automatically resize the images to the site using JavaScript so that it doesn't serve a ridiculous large image out to the user. It virtualizes the images so that a visitor on a poor connection will get a smaller version at a lower resolution until they can access the high bandwidth, and then it loads out the image. Mirage also streamlines the image request so visitors can see optimized images immediately, and also has a lazy loadout functionality so that if the image is not in the viewport, it does not actually load up the image. This is also applicable because it is done in JavaScript. It is also applicable to even third-party images that are actually not hosted from your website. So that is actually really cool. Also that Mirage blur, it gives that perception to a user that something is actually happening, and also reserves a spot in your browser DOM so that the browser can start render all the other content and your image is no longer a render blocking, potential render blocking, and then you see content starts moving around in your DOM as well. So a really cool way to do this. I'll quickly show you a demo. Can you all see my screen? Yes, you can. So I'll quickly hit the refresh button. Oops, sorry. My apologies. I'll do it again. So as you can see, the image was blurred, and then the full image showed up in here. So this is what Mirage will do for you from a perceptual perspective. So a lot of sites actually use it. So my blog sites use it as well. Polish, also available for Pro, Business, and Enterprise plan. It automatically converts the JPEG, PNG GIFs and animated GIFs into WebP for supported browsers. It has got two modes. One is called the lossless mode, which removes all the metadata on the image. The other is called a lossy mode, which applies additional perceptual image quality compression algorithm to further reduce the file size. So not only does it remove the metadata, but it also tries its best to also further reduce the file size by compressing the images a little bit further. Image resizing is only available for business and enterprise plan. So in the business plan, you get 100,000 of those for free bundled, and any additional 100,000 requests will cost $10 a month. Enterprise plan gets up to 10 million image resizing requests per month. It is best to use the custom CloudFlare edge workers to resize rather than using the provided worker that CloudFlare has. The reason why you want to do that is that we want to hide the CloudFlare edge worker URL behind, so that your image media library image URLs still look exactly the same as it is, because we do not want to override the media provider at all at Sitecore. We don't want to use any URL rewriting back into Sitecore as well, especially when you're working on a development machine and on a long production environment that is not behind CloudFlare. So all the URLs look exactly the same. It comes with an option to polish as well for image resizing. Some of the transformation options, device pixel ratio, is basically for high-res screens. You can output the multiplier effects of density. So like an iPhone X, you need to produce a much higher, more higher density image to those high resolution devices. A fit mode, which is a resizing mode as a string, and it affects interpretation of the width and the height of what it is, depending on what you which mode you use. Gravity defines the side or point that should be left uncropped. You can use left, right, top, bottom, and center, or a focal point coordinate. Quality is basically image compression value for JPEG and WebP images. Format, there's two parameters that you can specify: WebP auto, which means automatically converts to WebP if the browser supports it, or JSON, which outputs the information about the image before and after resizing. So if you want to do some testing and see how much optimization has been applied, how much file size has been reduced, then you need to supply format JSON. Metadata, so specifies how you would like the metadata to be stripped out. So there are three options in there. Check those out. I would highly recommend just use none. Background, so you can add a color underneath the image for transparency images. Rotate, straightforward, just rotate the image. Please note that there's no preview available in the dashboard, so any changes that you do on your edge worker process to resize the image, you have to deploy that out and then test all your previews within the browser. So I'll quickly go through Akamai's offering on image optimization as well. The first one is adaptive image compression, which is available for customers who are on Akamai Dynamic Site Accelerator and Akamai Ion plans. It provides a customized image compression rates for different network conditions, for cellular network or for non-cellular network, and then there's a further breakdown on what it deems as excellent, good, or bad connection. So in excellent, I could say I could mark the image quality, image compression to 85 as an example. On a good connection, I'll bring it down to 75. On a poor connection, I'm going to bring it down to 60 or below. So even people on a poor connection can actually see an image in a relatively good speed, except they will lose quality, obviously. It operates dynamically without any pre-analysis required. It just looks at the network speed, and that's it. Uses standard JPEG lossy compressions and only supports JPEG type files as well. Another one, front-end optimization. Again, this is available for Akamai Dynamic Site Accelerator and Akamai Ion customers. There's an image optimization subset. So the first one is image aligning. It basically looks at your CSS reference to an image, and if it sees that the image is less than 4 kilobytes, it will then change the CSS and then encode the base 64 string into the CSS rather than using an external image file as a reference. On-demand image loading does not load the image until it is in the viewport. Low-quality image placeholder, just like Mirage, where it serves like a blur-out image first before it serves out the full image. Responsive image. To facilitate responsive image, different size images are created during the page analysis. In a mechanism similar to on-demand page loading, the image tag in the page is modified to prevent the browser from going out and fetching the image. So JavaScript is used to select the appropriate size image based on the display width. Intelligent image quality. So front-end optimization can apply image resizing to cut down on the number of bytes required for a given image without visible impact to image quality. So if your image tag has specified a width and height, it will then go out and resize the image for you at the CDN and bring that in rather than serving out the original image size, and then you're wasting all the bytes because the image is going to look exactly the same anyway. Lower resolution images on 2G and 3G, so there's a bit of a JavaScript that is available that detects your network connection from the browser, and then it will grab a much lower quality image out to replace it. This is only available on Android, not on iOS. It's different from the adaptive image compression that from the previous slide. Uses JPEG 2000 image format for Safari browsers, and also uses JPEG XL and WebP format as well for the browsers that support it. The big boy image manager is a totally separate product that Akamai offers. It's not bundled into any web performance plan, so it is a separate product on its own. It can supply next-gen formats. It can scale for mobile, uses the user agent string, and then it maps it against the device database that Akamai has, and it detects how large your screen width is, maximum screen width, so that you will never be able to get a massive 4K, massive image that is meant to be designed for a 75-inch 4K TV on your mobile phone. So you will detect that it is your mobile phone. Your device can only support up to a maximum of this particular width, and then it will automatically resize that for you at the edge and bring that image in. It has got a very extremely intuitive UI for you to work with for your image manager policies. So as you can see in this screen here, you can actually preload an image that you want to work with as a preview. And while you're modifying your image policies and to apply the different types of transformation, you can actually see the preview live on the right-hand side with the image that is relevant to what you are working on. You can have multiple preset image manager policies to determine the image sizing, transformations, and optimizations as well. It has a tool called Pies, which is a Chrome extension tool to allow you to do optimization comparisons for before optimization and after resizing optimization. It has got full integration with Akamai CLI to realize your full DevOps lifecycle, so you can source control your configurations as JSON and then activate them whilst you are deploying your site into production, as an example. And then you can do all your testing and everything in there as well. And whilst you're working on your development machine, you can also use Akamai Sandbox to test all your configurations all on your PC without having to deploy massive changes out to Akamai as well. Some of the transformations that are available from Akamai Image Manager. Everything that can be done from CloudFlare image resizing can be done as well. You can see a massive list in here on the right-hand side that are all the transformations that are available. So I just want to quickly call some of the really, really cool ones, like the automatic face cropping. So it uses machine learning and face recognition algorithm to work out where people's faces are and automatically use that as a focal point and crop around that. You can add watermarks on your images. You can do text overlays on the images, and then you can also do color and contrast adjustments on the images as well. So there's just a lot going on. There's all the time they're pushing out different types of new ways to do your image transformations, and there are things that are in beta as well that are available if you opt into the beta program. So really, really cool stuff that Akamai has. The Akamai offering is really, really cool. So how do we implement CDN image resizing? So first, from a Sitecore perspective, you want to change the setting of media in tabulation mode to high quality by cubic, because it produces the best image in case you cannot use any CDN image resizing tools because they do cost extra. If you are not using any resizing tool, make sure your interpolation mode is set to high quality by cubic. Ensure the setting media request extensions is not set, so it should be empty so that it displays SVG, JPEG, GIF, PNG, etc. Change the setting of media request protection to false. It's just that little bit of extra work that is no longer required as you're offloading the entire workload and the entire security layer to the CDN now, and no longer required on Sitecore. So turn that off. For Sitecore 825 and above, set the always append revision to true. There are also other implementations that you can do in code, and custom implementation that you can do very easily for Sitecore versions that are 825 and below. Quickly Google that and you'll find it straight away. I think one of the guys in the panel at the moment have done that work. I think it was Cam, if I remember correctly. Install Dianoga 5.0 release candidate 6 or later to enable SVG optimization only and turn off all the other optimizations. Unfortunately, both CloudFlare and Akamai cannot do any SVG optimizations at the moment. So you still need to do that using Dianoga. For Sitecore number 3 or above, consider using Sitecore Azure Blob Storage module to, rather than having all the blobs in the database, store all your blobs in Azure Blob Storage. From a CDN perspective, this is applicable to both Akamai and CloudFlare. Ensure that gzip or broadly compression is enabled for SVG. Broadly is available for CloudFlare out of the gate. However, broadly for SVG is only available for Akamai if you've got Akamai Ion in your web performance contract. Otherwise, only gzip is available. Configure the HTTL and your browser response cache properly. If the query string has a revision ID attached to it, you can give it a really large TTL value. I usually use 1 year. However, if the revision is not present, you have to use a much smaller value, so 1 day. I would usually do it 1 day for those without the revision ID in it. And then also ensure the cache key only has media library images that are known by and documented by Sitecore, or the ones that you've implemented custom. So make sure that only those ones are available as cache keys, as you do not want to poison your CDN cache keys. So I don't want to start putting in a whole bunch of random creation parameters, and then that will poison your cache key, and then it will put additional load to your to Sitecore if you cannot use any resizing at all in your plan. Also ensure only the edge service and non-IP addresses can access content delivery. So CloudFlare has a list of IP addresses available that you can set your ACLs to, and Akamai customers should get the list of ACLs from Akamai Site Shield. And then also some of the IP addresses, things like your office IP address or your home IP address, because everyone's now working from home. So you want to, because sometimes you want to go to the website content delivery directly without going through the CDN. So those IP addresses should also be whitelisted. Enable HTTP2 if you have not already done so as well. For CloudFlare, ensure the media library images, which are JPEG, PNG, and GIF, are stored under a folder in media library. So as an example, you want to put it in project, under a tenant, under a site name, and then you might want to call it images. And then you deploy the edge worker process to resize the images targeting the folder that was specified above, so that only those URL paths will get the image resizing treatment with the edge worker. So I'll quickly go through the edge worker, a sample one. Very straightforward. Basically, I've hard-coded some of the image quality settings in here, some of the formatting that I've hard-coded in here. And then I'm now mapping the Sitecore image resize parameters to the CloudFlare image optimization parameters in here. So width goes to W, height goes to H, and then if maximum width is specified, you may want to map those in as well. And then there are things like aspect ratio is ignored, so IAR, which is a query string parameters from Sitecore. If you're using IAR, then the feed mode from CloudFlare should be changed to cover. Play around with these different options to suit your needs, because every single Sitecore project is different. You may want to change those around. Here is the important part now. So we have hidden the content delivery URL away from the public users, and then what we're trying to do is only supply the revision ID query string parameters back to the image, so that your image request back to content delivery is now whatever .jpeg $rev equals GUID and nothing else. So you will get the full image in here. So the gist is available in the slide that I've specified in here. So for Akamai, if you're using multiple image manager policies, you need to figure out a way to organize the different policies, and then also configure the rules and the requirements in Property Manager to URL rewrite the URL by adding the image manager policy as a query string parameter to specify that. So I'll give you an example. It is very important to hide all of that, the override of image manager policy, because you want to hide all the transformations details to the users. If you're adding watermarks to your images, you actually don't want to expose to the user to say, hey, guess what guys, I've applied a watermark. If you just drop this query string parameters, if you drop the transform query strings, you don't have a watermark. So you want to hide all of those. That's the reason why you want to use URL rewrite. So a really cool way to do URL rewrite is either via Property Manager, or there is a very specific Akamai URL rewrite cloudlet that has got a much nicer interface and much faster activation as well to handle all types of URL rewrites. So organize that, make sure you organize how you want to apply different image manager policies as well. So quickly setting up a Akamai image manager policy. My preference is to use a perceptual quality and set it to medium high. Medium high is equivalent to the image compression of 85. The reason why I stress about using perceptual quality is that, let's just say you've got an image with a very complex texture. It will just stop the image compression at 85, and then it will just serve that image out. However, if the texture of the image is very simple, so let's just say you've got some really a large portion of the image has got a solid background color on it, then you will start decreasing the compression ratio to serve out a much lower quality in the image. However, to the naked eye, you actually cannot see the image changes. So I've seen images from a client where the images are so simple and not complex at all that instead of serving out 85 as the image quality, it actually bumps it down to 25. So by doing that, the image file size of those images have been drastically reduced as well. And also for a network, for slow connections, we can also put a fixed value of whatever compression ratio it is the image quality. So for slow connection, you can do 50. So they're not going to go through the whole. It will just serve a much lower quality image as well. So worth checking out these settings. And then now we're setting up the width and height variables that are applicable to the policy, so that we can map the variables from our Sitecore query string parameters back to the variables in the image policy. And then what we want to do is to preserve the aspect ratios. There are a couple of different options that you can do in here. So there's fill and there's fit. There's fit as well. So it's fit to size and fill to size. Options for aspect behavior. And then for the constraint type, there are downsize and then there's upsize. So downsize will downsize the image to fit. Upsize will just say, no, I don't care what it is. I just want to fit it in this specific ratio, that specific width and height that you've specified. So I'm just going to borrow up the image and just specify image in there. So there's different ways to do this as well. And then now we are assigning the media library query string parameters to the property manager variable. So we need to assign, so if W exists, so in here you see I'm assigning the W parameter from the media image library to a property manager at Akamai I call a variable called Sitecore image width. Next, then I'll assign this variable to the image manager policy variable that we have specified a couple of screens ago when I was specifying when I was listing all the variables that are available for the image transformation resizing. And then in here, we are dropping all the media library image creation parameters except for the revision ID. So this should all be really familiar to all of us of all the different media library creation parameters that Sitecore provides, so that we only get the pristine image, the unaltered full-size high-res image back from Sitecore into Akamai Image Manager. So we're dropping all of that. And then finally, we apply the image manager behavior to Sitecore media library path. So as you can see, we're only doing JPEG, GIF, PNG, and then there's the image viewer, which is a image viewer for the Chrome extension for comparisons. And then in here, scale for mobile, I've enabled scale for mobile. I've enabled the next gen image format as well in here. You have to specify where most of your traffic comes from. So in my case, at the moment, it is Australia. And then there's also a pristine image path and a derivative image path as well. Basically allows you to set those image paths out, and then you can report on how much traffic is going through the pristine image path and how much traffic is using the derivative image path. So here's what a rough structure of the Akamai Property Manager configuration looks like when using Image Manager. Basically all the steps that I've gone through. Notice that I have done zero code in both Akamai and Sitecore at this stage. So I'll quickly show you some of the results using Akamai Image Manager. The reason why I didn't choose to use CloudFlare at this stage is that because it doesn't have a nice intuitive tool like Akamai Image Manager. So in this screen, I'm using Habitat Home Corporate as a demo. So Habitat Home Corporate is a website MVC solution that Sitecore has developed, the Sitecore demo team has developed. This is a traditional MVC site, no SSA, not JSS in this site, so just good old traditional MVC site in here. So this is the demo site that I'm using. So just to show you that the original uncropped image has been requested from Akamai Image Manager server to Sitecore. So it shows the original large image on the left hand side, and then the cropped and optimized image on the right hand side. So the original image, unaltered, uncropped, unresized, is 890 kilobytes, and then after it has been transformed and optimized, it is now down to 8.1 kilobytes, which is a reduction of 99.1%. Another example, from a 1.7 meg to 21.9 kilobytes. It is a very unfair comparison right now because we are comparing to a original high-res image that has not been treated. So in the next couple of screens, I will show you the comparisons that I've done compared to getting Sitecore to actually optimize the image versus Akamai doing all the optimization and resizing. So in this next screen, this is the image optimization details that you can see using the Chrome extension pies. So you can see what the transformation type is. So WebP, 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 and then the last one is JPEG. The original width, uncropped width of the image. So as you can see, some of them are actually pretty big in here. And what the encoding quality was that has been applied by Akamai as well. So as I said before, 85 was the default. So you could see that in this particular image, for example, it has actually used 71 instead of 85 because it has not lost any quality if you use 71. So all of this is all done with a machine learning algorithm at Akamai at the edge. And then the original size is this column, and then the transform size is this, and it gives you a percentage of bytes that has been changed. So now I'm doing a comparison between using Sitecore on the left hand side in here, and then using Akamai Image Manager on the right hand side. So if I add up every single file size in here, what Sitecore has served out was close to 3.5 megabytes, worth of images with an image quality of 85, and on the right hand side, it was just slightly over 1 megabyte of image. So there's a reduction of 70.88% by using Akamai Image Manager rather than serving the image directly from Sitecore. Keep in mind that I did not use Dynoga at all in here at this stage. Now, we need to roll out. How do we roll out after you've done all the hard work and setting up all the policies, setting up your edge workers? How do you roll it out? So some of the considerations that are required when you're rolling out Image Manager, image resizing. So from a Sitecore perspective, the pristine image path needs to be cached for sites with original images that are large in size. So it is actually very important to pick a low traffic period to roll this out. So large images will take longer to cache. So you want to pick a really quiet period to roll out. And hopefully, ideally, you already have a whole bunch of visual tests that are available for the site so that you can actually just fire all these visual tests to crawl through the entire site in different breakpoints to start caching all of the pristine images and all the different croppings that are required. For Akamai, especially the offline image resizing, that takes time and it's not a real-time image real-time optimization. So real-time optimization will just do the WebP or the next-gen image conversion to serve that out without using machine learning to go through the analysis of the image. So really important, pick a quiet period, roll it out so that when a real user comes to the site, you get the real fully optimized image with the machine learning algorithm that has passed through all the different croppings to give you the smallest size image possible. You may want to scale up or scale out your content deliveries as well. As I said, the pristine image path it takes longer to cache those, and they serve really, really large images. So you might want to scale out your content deliveries, as well as you might want to scale up your web database with IOPS and DTUs as well. Pick a low traffic period to roll, like I said before. From an Akamai perspective, there are 3 options to activate. You can activate immediately, just like how you're doing with CloudFlare, or you can select a date and time to activate. So in Akamai, you just pick a date and time and then hit activate. Then you activate in a quiet period of time. Or you can just say gradually roll it out in 5 days. So it's very smart to actually bucket different types of audience, a percentage of audience, and then as the 5-day period, in that 5-day window period, you will start putting more people into using Akamai Image Manager as well. So before you roll this out, if that's the option you choose, make sure that your images have been cached really, really well already in Akamai before you use this gradual rollout process as well, so that it retains the cache key, so that it does not affect your content delivery infrastructure performance at all. So that's all I've got. I'm a proud member of the community. You can contact me on Slack, Twitter, and Stack Exchange. Thank you. So your revision ID is the key. So your HTML rendering will contain the revision ID in the creation parameters. That allows that to distinguish. So every time you publish, you make a change on the image, whether it's an alt text or whether you actually change the entire image out, the revision ID is attached, and then the revision ID also changes. So if you have a look at the statistics section of your Sitecore item, you will see that the revision ID will change every time you make a save, and then when you publish it, the revision ID will change. And that allows you, Akamai, to grab that latest change on the image. So because the user is going to request with that latest revision ID through the HTML of the rendering. No, I did not, unfortunately. But most of what I'm seeing right now in the documentation is that there's usually a 25 to 35% in reduction, especially because it uses next-gen format. But unfortunately, I did not get a chance to do the comparison using CloudFlare. And also, the tooling is just not as intuitive as Akamai Image Manager to allow you to do that. comparison, much more straightforward. So as I specified that there's a JSON parameter that is available with format. So if you need to do any image comparisons, make sure you use that format equals to JSON to actually, that will give you that comparison figure in an entire JSON payload that you can then consume to do whatever you need to do. There are a lot of other CDN image optimizations that are dedicated to do this sort of task. What I've seen so far is that doing JPEG 2000, using JPEG 2000 as a next-gen format is actually quite difficult and not available to every single platform out there. Last time I checked, only Akamai Image Manager plus the other one can do JPEG 2000. So CloudFlare doesn't do it, because it actually requires the device database from something like 51 degrees to reside and constantly update it at the edge. So it's a pretty heavy involved process. So that's why only the expensive optimization products can actually support that. But with the different transformations, I'm seeing that some of them can also do a whole bunch of transformations that Akamai Image Manager has as well. But these are the two ones that are the most popular one that I work with on my day-to-day basis is usually CloudFlare and also Akamai. So this is what I usually work on every day. So what you need to do is static assets, you put them into either on disk. So obviously those are on disk. So what you need to do is you need to be extremely careful. The way I update static type assets is that I usually put them into like a version folder. So I could say version 12305 or with a date timestamp as a version. And then every time if I need to update that static image, let's just say I'm changing a logo from a seasonal type logo, so I want to put a Christmas theme around my logo, and then my normal non-season logo doesn't have the Christmas theme on it, as an example, then I'll put that into a different folder, or and then that allows you to burst that browser cache, so that you get the latest, you get the correct version of the static image in there, and then you reference that static asset in your CSS and in your HTML accordingly with that version in there. So in front end, that's the Webpack bundle as an example. It produces a version as an example in Webpack. So something like that, like a bundle ID. Yeah. Yes, you can. So, actually, I have not looked at CloudFront as such. I'm not sure whether CloudFront itself has any image optimization. However, for both CloudFlare and Akamai Image Manager, all you need to do is to set your origin of the web application to your AWS S3 storage bucket as your origin, and then it just calls the images and hides the AWS S3 bucket URL using CloudFlare Worker and also the Akamai image origin settings. You can hide all of that so that your users will not know that those images are coming from AWS S3 bucket. And then you just apply the same logic that you've done, that I've demonstrated with using the CloudFlare Edge Workers as well as Akamai Image Manager to optimize and resize those images. But those files are in AWS S3 bucket. You can. So all you have to do is to invalidate a directory for that, and then in Akamai Image Manager, you can just purge the pristine image path and the derivative image path. So they've got two content provider codes in Akamai Manager. One is called the pristine, and then what you do is once you invalidate that, then you grab the images again from Sitecore, and that allows you to purge all that. Just keep in mind there is a massive performance hit when you do that, because it does serve the entire full size image out, and not so you've got to be extremely careful. And those full size images can be 10, 15 meg, 20 meg. Just be extremely careful if you do decide to go down that path. Yes, so all you have to do, both CloudFlare and Akamai Image Manager provides some purging tools. You just have to enter that URL in there in the purge tool and just hit purge. I will be hanging out at the whatever that is, the Zoom, the break room, I'll be hanging out in there if you guys want to ask any questions. Thank you so much.